Hi guys, welcome to the tutorial for the Cora Chemise. This is my latest sewing pattern and you can find it on my Etsy at CherryHillsStudio. This is going to be a really easy and really fun sew. The hardest part is honestly just the amount of pressing, but other than that, this comes together really quickly and we're using some good techniques. So I'm really excited to walk through this with you guys and for you to have just a really beautiful layering piece. You can wear it on its own, on the shoulder, off the shoulder. We have short sleeves and long sleeves for whatever your preference is. As it is, the pattern includes just the top length, just because I didn't want you guys to have to print an extra like 15-20 pages maybe, just to add a little bit of length to it. So it's really easy to add the amount of length you want. I recommend for a mini dress to add about like 10 to like 15 inches, and for a midi dress to add somewhere between like 16 to 22, just depending on how tall you are. For fabric, you're going to want to use something really lightweight. I really like a cotton batiste or cotton lawn, but you're really going to want to go for light to medium weight fabrics at most. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. We'll start with a little bit of prep and then we'll be ready to get everything sewn together. So let's go ahead and start with measuring out our elastic pieces. We'll need 2 pieces of elastic that are 1 inch less than our bicep measurement. Then for style B only, we'll need 2 pieces of elastic that are 1 inch less than this mid forearm measurement right here. And we will also need 1 piece of elastic that is 5 inches less than this top of shoulder measurement. For both styles of our sleeves, we're going to need to mark the fold line on the fabric itself. So you can find the fold line marked on your pattern piece. And for the long sleeve, we have 2 fold lines. For the short sleeve, we only have 1. So what I like to do is fold the actual paper pattern itself on the fold line, then match that with the fabric that I've already cut out, and then just go ahead and mark that line. I'm going to repeat that for both fold lines for the long sleeve version. If you're doing the short sleeve, again, it's just 1 fold line. I'm going to be showing you how to do this with the long sleeve. It's the same exact thing as the short sleeve with the extra length and the extra fold line. And you're going to want to make sure that you are marking this on the right side of both of your sleeves so that when we get to the point where we need this fold line, everything is good and ready to go. Alright, so we're going to take one of our bodice pieces and lay it flat, and we'll grab both of our sleeve pieces and align the armholes wrong sides together. And I'm going to go ahead and pin that all in place. We're using French seams today, so that's why we're going to do wrong sides together. That's why we can see the lines on our sleeves. If you haven't done French seams, then you'll want to watch the video first before you actually get into it. Or you can watch my quick little TikTok that I'll link in the description so that you can just have a really quick little breakdown and understand it before you actually start sewing. So once everything is pinned, we're going to go ahead and sew at 1/4 inch seam allowance on both of our pinned armholes. So now we want to very carefully trim down our seam allowance by about half. So we'll have about 1/8 of an inch left. This is really important for the French seams so that the next seam that we do will fully encase the raw edges. This is what it should look like once you're done. So now we're going to repeat this with our other 2 armholes and our other bodice piece. So I'm going to take the sleeves and fold them over like so that the wrong sides will be facing the other bodice piece. Even though I'm laying it on top of our existing seams, we're not going to include that when we pin. We're just pinning together the loose armhole on the sleeve with the bodice, like so. Then pin the other side as well, and here is a closer look at what it should look like. Once everything is pinned, we're going to go ahead and sew this down. And always backstitch at the beginning and end of all of your seams. Do not forget that, okay? It's really important. And you'll want to make sure again that you are trimming down the seam allowances to about 1/8 of an inch. So this is how we're looking so far. All of our armholes are sewn, and what we're going to do is give everything a good press. Then we're going to turn it inside out. We're going to press our seams again so that they're nice and flat, and I'll show you what that's going to look like. So we're going to press all along each of our armholes, And then we are going to go ahead and sew that down. And that is going to be our French seam. It's going to encase the previous seam because we have turned it inside out and we're catching the entire first seam inside the second one. And this seam is sewn right sides together, so just like you're used to, we end up getting there. It's just a few extra steps. And not only are French seams just a really beautiful professional finish, they are really nice and strong and durable as well. So when we go ahead and press, I like to do a first little pass with everything flat. Then I like to open up the seam and press everything towards one side. Then we'll flip it so that everything is right sides together, and we will press again. And we'll repeat that for all 4 armholes, and then we'll go ahead and get that sewn down. All right, so we'll bring everything to our machine and we're gonna sew again at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and this will complete the French seam on the armholes. So this is what the armholes should look like so far. Just a really beautiful, nice, clean finish, and then this is how it looks from the outside. So go ahead and repeat that for the 3 remaining armholes. Then we're gonna go ahead and press everything down nice and flat. Basically, every time you sew a seam, you wanna go ahead and press that. So here's how we're looking so far. I've turned the top right side out so that wrong sides are facing, and we're gonna go ahead and align our underarms and side seams. We're gonna sew one continuous seam from essentially the hem of the sleeve to the hem of the bodice. It's gonna be just one straight line. So we're gonna go ahead and pin everything in place and get that ready to sew. And repeat for the other side as well. Then we can go ahead and sew that up again at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. Once we have both side seams sewn, we're going to go ahead and carefully trim that seam allowance down, just like we did with the armholes, by half to about 1/8 of an inch. Then for the next step, we're going to go ahead and turn everything inside out so that right sides are facing, and we're going to sew down that exact seam once more, but not without pressing everything really nicely first. So just go ahead and press just as we did with the armholes, and then you can go ahead and sew down both of your side seams. So this is how it'll look at the intersection of the armhole and the side seam. Just a really nice, clean finish. Now that everything is joined together, we're gonna go ahead and finish our neckline. So what we'll do is create essentially a double fold hem that will leave a gap in so that we can feed our elastic through. I like to do 1 inch, press that, and then fold the raw edge in by half of an inch, meeting that first fold. But you can also fold half of an inch, press, and then fold half an inch down again and press that. Whichever way you like to do your double fold hem, go ahead and do that. That's really all we're doing here. We just want to make sure that when we sew, we leave a gap. So to remind us of the gap that we need to leave, we're just going to go ahead and mark anywhere along the neckline, just about 1 inch. Then we're going to go ahead and sew this down at 1/2 of an inch. We're going to start at our second mark, and we're going to finish sewing at the first mark. So again, make sure that you backstitch at the beginning and end of all of your stitches so that nothing comes unraveled, and then we will be ready to put in our elastic. So I like to use this little tool called a bodkin to thread my elastic through the channels, but you can also just use a safety pin and clip it to one end of your elastic, and then go ahead and feed that through the entirety of the elastic channel, which is our neckline in this case. And since we're gathering a lot of fabric here, if you're worried about your elastic getting lost in the channel, you can just go ahead and put a pin vertically on the loose end of your elastic and you will be pretty safe. So go ahead and just feed that elastic through the entirety of the neckline, and then you'll have it come out on the other end, and we're gonna attach the elastic together to create one loop. So I like to just overlap the elastic like so, with about a half an inch overlapping, and then pin that in place. And you want to make sure also that none of the elastic in the channel is twisted. If it is, it's okay, but ideally it wouldn't be. And then I like to sew 2 parallel lines next to each other just to finish off the elastic and make it nice and strong, and then you're good to go. So then to get that elastic into the channel, pull everything nice and taut, and then we're gonna finish sewing up that gap. So find the gap and then sew that closed back stitching at the beginning and end of the seam. All right, so now our neckline is done, and before we move on to the rest of the elastic on our sleeves, I strongly recommend hemming everything. This is just gonna make it so much easier. You're pressing everything at once, you're sewing everything at once. It's good to have systems. It's good to sew in a way that works for you. So I'm just showing you how I like to do it. And all the hem allowances on this pattern are going to be 1 inch, so it's going to be a 1/2 inch double fold. And you may have noticed that I did make the bodice hem larger than this, but I have a short torso, guys. Now everything is pressed and ready to go, and we're just going to sew down all of our hems. All right, here's how it's looking so far. We're gonna go ahead and finish our sleeves. So we're gonna find our fold line and we're gonna fold the fabric to the inside so that wrong sides are facing each other. And we're gonna fold exactly at the fold line, like so. And here's it a little bit closer just so that you can see exactly what we're doing. And we are going to give this a really good press. Since this will be our channel for elastic, we're gonna go ahead and mark that 1 inch mark like we did on the neckline. And we're gonna go ahead and sew this down. So this is what it looks like. We're just sewing 1/2 an inch away from the fold, starting at the second mark that we made and finishing at the first mark, leaving that gap, back stitching at the beginning and end. You know the drill. So this is what it's gonna look like once we sew down that fold. And before we put in the elastic, we're actually going to go ahead and do our other fold line as well. For the long sleeve version, if you did the short sleeve version, then you're just gonna do this first fold line and you can move on to putting the elastic in. But if you're doing the long sleeve version, we're gonna go ahead and repeat this process on the other fold line and also repeat this whole process for the other sleeve. Now for both styles, before we add in the elastic, we want to press both of the channels towards the neckline. Then you're going to want to make sure that you are using the correct length elastic. If you're doing the long sleeve version, you'll want to match the forearm elastic to the forearm channel and the bicep elastic to the bicep channel. And we're going to go ahead and thread our elastic into the channel just like we did with the neckline. Similar to what I did with the hems, I just like to do everything in batches, so go ahead and thread all of your elastic through, and then we'll sew all of our elastic together, pull everything nice and taut, and then finish sewing those gaps. And that was it. That was the last step. Your top or dress, whichever one you chose to do, is ready to go. This is how it looks on its own, and then styled with a corset. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I hope you guys like this tutorial. Thank you so much for supporting my patterns. I'll see you next time.